This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
According to testimony in the au pair affair murder trial of Brendan Banfield, Christine's body, Christine Banfield, wasn't even in the morgue yet when something happened in a hotel lobby that should stop everyone following this trial cold. Police had the family sequestered. Brendan, his younger daughter Valerie, and the au pair, Juliana Peres Magalhães. Saly Fayez, a victim services officer with Fairfax County Police, testified that an intel detective overheard Valerie approach Juliana and ask Valerie, just in case you're following along at home and haven't recognized the name yet, this is the daughter of Brandon and Christine, the little girl with the backpack. The Fairfax County police officer testified that she heard the little girl come up to Juliana and ask, "Can I call you mommy now?" Juliana allegedly said yes. Then the little girl reportedly asked, "Are you going to marry my daddy?" And according to Fayez's testimony, Juliana's answer was, "I wish." You know, like you say to a little confused girl whose mother is not coming back, who probably doesn't fully really grasp this idea that this little girl's mom is gone. And you're like, "I wish. Sure, call me mommy, yeah." I don't know exactly how that conversation went, but if that testimony is true, if those allegations are true, what does that tell us about the character of Juliana Peres Magalhães? I mean, does it tell us much, I guess, is the question. Does it tell us much, or is that how any dumb 22-year-old would be acting if they also saw it to be a great idea to have an affair with the older guy who's got a wife and a kid, who doesn't really give a shit about any of that because she's out for herself and she wants what she has. So she's going to do whatever she can to get it, with her being a younger woman. Is that all that is? Is she a monster, or is she just your average 20-some-year-old that's making poor decisions? Look, we've all been 20-something. We've all made poor decisions. So this is not an indictment on 20-some-year-olds. This is just, look, when you're at that age, you do dumb shit. You're selfish. You think of yourself. There's a level of narcissism, I would say, in most 20-some-year-olds that a lot of people grow out of, maybe by 25-ish. But until then, you can be kind of a monstrous human being. Look at, I don't know. I know I could be. I think a lot of people can look back. If you're honestly taking a look back at your mindset at that age, you might not have made the best choices. You might have made things and decisions that were very much in your own self-interest and not so much seeing the rest of the world around you, or the emotions of this little girl who just lost her mother. You don't have any life reps yet. I'm not trying to make excuses for this woman, but I'm trying to understand this mindset when this little girl comes up to you and these are your answers. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comment section on YouTube and on our Substack, hiddenkillers.substack.com. The link is in the description. Let's continue on with what happened that day in the trial of Brendan Banfield, day 7, technically. Testimony describing a child who already seemed to understand something, and an alleged response that, if true, might just kind of end this whole conversation right here. But it won't, because the defense spent the entire day trying to convince the jury that none of this should matter. That the cops got it wrong from the jump, that Brendan Banfield is the victim of investigators who picked their target and worked backwards. And here's the thing. They did land some punches today. Detective Leah Smith took the stand today. She's a homicide detective with the Fairfax County Police, one of their own, and she testified that she pushed back against the catfishing theory, the prosecution's central claim that Brendan allegedly created a fake profile on FetLife using his wife's identity to lure Joseph Ryan to the house because leadership was promoting that theory before the evidence actually supported it. According to Smith, she was told, there are two theories and you need to get behind the right one. That's a cop under oath testifying that her supervisors directed her towards a specific conclusion. If you're the defense, that's exactly what you want to hear. Now, did they get to the right conclusion? Did they point the finger at the right guy? Was one of those theories correct? Not both just completely pulled out of the ether and plowed through until the end? But it's not usually a great way to necessarily do an investigation. Pick one of these paths. It has to be one of these. It's rigid and stark, and that's it. One or the other. And if you deviate from that, you don't have a job, which is essentially what happened to a lot of people in this case. They disagreed with one of the paths, and they found themselves being moved off the case. Then there's the forensic analyst who was transferred off the case. This one, defense attorney John Carroll claims he was removed because his theory that Christine Banfield herself was the one communicating with Joe Ryan on the FetLife website was deemed wrong before anyone actually disproved it. Carroll's argument is straightforward. You can't definitively attribute a device or a username to a specific person. Maybe Christine was the catfish. Maybe she's the one who brought Joe Ryan into that house. And what happened next has nothing to do with Brendan's alleged scheme. The defense isn't saying that's what happened. They're saying investigators never seriously considered it. That they looked into Brendan and never looked back. It's not the strongest of arguments, to be completely honest. It really isn't. We see that kind of argument, look at the Paul Canero case that we're following right now. That's an argument that's being made there. Like, well, you didn't look close enough over here, so that means it could be something over. Yeah, but what do you have? What did you actually find? Oh, we look over here and there really isn't anything and it still kind of points over in this direction. There's a lot of things that can be simultaneously true in this trial. There are. What exactly they are that are true, what those elements are, that's going to be for a jury to decide. But I think the reality of this case, the truth of this case, is a bit more gray than anything else. If you're watching me and you're like, what are you doing? I'm changing my earpiece out because I just tried these. I got some new ones to try, some two-piecers that are electronic. Believe it or not, this little thing, not electronic. I'm not a fan. So I'm going back to the old one midway through the show. I figure I'd do that rather than stop and start completely over, All right. So if you're building a reasonable doubt defense, this is exactly how you do it. You don't have to prove your client is innocent. You just have to make the jury believe the investigation was compromised, that the people who built this case are more interested in confirming their suspicions than following the truth. But here's where the defense runs into a wall. Even Detective Smith, the one who testified about leadership pressure, admitted something critical. She said Brendan's arrest wasn't based on Juliana Peres Magalhães' testimony. It was based on evidence, the forensic evidence, the timeline, the purchases prosecutors have highlighted, the gun bought a month before the killings, the triple-pane windows allegedly installed to soundproof the home. Juliana's cooperation came later. She filled in the narrative, but the bones of the case were already assembled. And you can say that till you're blue in the face. It's based on, it's not that. It's based on this. But you know what? Your timeline, your actions, they speak far louder than your words because you arrested him only after you got the agreement in place with Juliana. You can't deny that. Now, all on the up and up? Maybe completely. I mean, there's a lot of cases where this is how this works. This is not like extremely rare or odd or anything like that. But the optics are the optics. If you had the strong evidence, why didn't you arrest him prior to her agreeing to flip on him on the stand? If it's so based on all this evidence that you have. I'm not here trying to advocate for Brendan Banfield, but I'm trying to just basically throw it all on the table. Because if we're going to be honest in a case, we got to be honest in a case, and we got to look at all the pieces and all the parts, even if some of them might feel icky and might not fit, as the police are alleged to have done. This lane or that lane, pick one. Because usually it's somewhere off in the median. It's where the cases go. Or way the hell off to the side over there. Like the road's here and the case actually, it's over here. Lieutenant David Gallo reinforced that point. He testified that Magalhães' account only confirmed what the forensic evidence already indicated. She didn't build the case against Brendan Banfield. She explained what the evidence meant. The defense wants the jury to see tunnel vision. The prosecution is showing them a tunnel that leads exactly where the evidence was always pointing, with or without the au pair's testimony. And, that may be true. That if that's where it leads, that's where it goes. Like I said, you got to take a look at all the evidence. And that's the problem with cops got it wrong defense. Reasonable doubt has to be reasonable. Maybe the investigators were biased. Doesn't hold up when the evidence survives the bias. You can question the process all you want, but if the conclusion still stands on its own, the process becomes noise. Which brings us back to that hotel lobby. Forget the forensics for a second. Forget FetLife. Forget browser history. Forget who had Christine's laptop and when. Forget the blood spatter experts arguing about whether the patterns on Joe Ryan's body were staged or occurred naturally. All of that is technical. All of that can be muddied by competing experts and procedural complaints. But testimony about a child asking the au pair if she can call her mommy now, reportedly just hours after her mother was stabbed to death in the family home, that's not technical. That's human. And if Fayez's account is accurate, it suggests a little girl who watched the dynamics in that house and understood something the adults thought they were hiding. Children pay attention. They see who their father looks at. They notice who's already acting like family before anyone's supposed to. And if Valerie asked Juliana, if that little girl asked Juliana whether she was going to marry her daddy, she wasn't fantasizing. She was asking about something that already felt real to her. That testimony doesn't prove Brendan Banfield killed his wife. It's not forensic evidence. It won't show up in a crime scene diagram. But if accurate, it suggests something was already in place. Something was waiting. And the response Juliana gave, I wish, and indicates she wasn't horrified by the question. She wasn't caught off guard by the implication. According to the testimony, she answered like someone who had already imagined the future. Some 22-year-old who's, maybe I can have this life. I can suddenly be the 30-some, the 40-some-year-old woman that's has life established and going on in the big house and this and that, and then just boom, snap of the fingers because I'm younger and, as Stacy called it, these are not my words, perkier than her. And look, a lot of this is not a crazy concept. There's a lot of young women who go down this path, and it works. It works. They seduce the guy with the money, with the power. Not that Brendan Banfield was really any of that, but they go after what they think is the future, somewhere down. And look, I'm not saying that it can't happen the other way either. I'm just talking about this specific situation. And affairs happen, divorces happen, and that's where a lot of things end right there. They don't necessarily end in the murder end of it. And I don't know that Juliana saw that it was going to end in the murder end of it. I don't know that. I highly doubt. I'm going to guess initially it was, I'm 22. Well, here's an opportunity in front of me right now. Why not? Because you're young and you're dumb at 22 and you make horrible decisions. And that might have just been what she was thinking until Brendan gets involved and starts going, well, hey, I don't want her in my life anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And again, you're young, you're dumb, you're 22, and you're following the lead of your knight in shining armor. However, Brendan Banfield becomes the knight in shining armor, but I don't know. These two seem like a lovely pair. You go along with stupid shit sometimes. Maybe that's exactly what happened. I mean, that essentially is the prosecution's theory. And they're willing to give her a pass as long as she says that's what happened. Being out of touch emotionally with the 5-year-old. It's not a crime, but it says a lot about the lack of life reps that this woman has, and understandably so. The jury is now watching 2 trials unfold, essentially. One is procedural. Did the investigators follow the evidence, or did they chase a theory? The defense is fighting hard on that front, and they're not incompetent. They've raised real questions about how this case was constructed. But the other trial is simpler and uglier. It's about a dead woman, a husband who prosecutors allege wanted out without paying the price of a divorce, and an au pair who, according to testimony, was already being viewed as a replacement for Christine before she was even married. There's a real chance here that we may see some delays on this trial in the coming days. There's a large snowstorm moving across the midsection of the United States and all the way over to there. We're actually in the path of it here in Arkansas, where we record our program. They're not here. They're way over there, but it's a big one. Could delay things for a day or two, so beware. The defense will keep swinging. They will keep attacking the investigation, the forensics, the process. But after today, they're not just fighting evidence anymore. They're fighting testimony about a question asked in a hotel lobby by a child who seemingly already knew something was wrong. And they're fighting an alleged answer that, if the jury believes it, should follow them all the way into deliberations. Brendan Banfield has pled not guilty to all charges. He is presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section, either on YouTube or on our Substack. 2 places where your voice can be heard, and we can continue this. I'm very much interested in where you are on this. Lay it out for me. There's no right or wrong answer, but tell me what you're gleaning from this case on the YouTube comment section or on our Substack. Substack, by the way, we've started this at the beginning of the year, so it's like roughly 20-some days old. Please come join us over there. It's free. There's no paywall. Some of the advantages, let me pitch this to you. No ads. You get our videos and our reporting. You can even get audio. Everything there in advance for free before we publish it anywhere else. And it's for a limited time. All the extra video there, free. So get in on it while you can. Get signed up. Become a member of our Substack, hiddenkillers.substack.com. The link is in the description. Love to see you over there, and you can interact with us with your opinions just directly here in the studio. It's a lot more streamlined. I read comments on both YouTube and Substack. We get thousands of them on YouTube. Substack's a bit less, so I can see them a little easier. So if you really are wanting to get that opinion across, and maybe you have a longer form opinion or something, please join us on our Substack. We'd love to get your thoughts on this and in all of the cases that we cover. And hey, if you're on YouTube, not lost you yet, or if you're on Apple Podcast, if I've not lost you yet, a review if you could. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It signals to other you're finding our reporting valuable and lets other folks find us. So thank you in advance for that. Seriously, it does a lot. Really appreciate it if you could leave us a review there on Apple Podcasts. Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi is where you'll find us. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.